What's up, gamers? It's Absurd here, and I've been having a lot of fun with Baldur's Gate 3. There are so many ways to play the game, and so many quirky achievements that a single playthrough was not enough for me. The weirdest achievement on my radar was the Jack of all trades, which requires you to multi-class into all 12 classes on a single character without visiting withers for a class respec. The achievement is no doubt inspired by the other, more famous Absurd by Puff and Forest, and pretty easy to get by using hirelings or companions, but it left me wondering if you can beat Baldur's Gate 3 as a lone wolf jack of all trades on Tactician difficulty. For this build, if you can even call it that, we have to account for a few quirks in the game. First of all, it is known that the game considers breaking your paladin oath and becoming an oathbreaker to be a respec for the purposes of the Jack of all trades achievement. So we want to take paladin as our final class to avoid any missteps there and breaking the achievement. Second, because our character will never earn extra attack at 5th level or higher than 1st level spells, our ability to scale power beyond level 5 to match the rest of the game will rely on cantrips that scale with character level rather than class level, and also on spell scrolls. The trick here is that the DC of spell scrolls is based on the casting stat of the most recently taken class that has a casting DC. Having tested this extensively, every class except for Fighter, Rogue, and Barbarian will change the DC of our spell scrolls. Luckily for us, there are 4 charisma-based classes, so the plan is to take our levels in Ranger, Cleric, Wizard, Druid, and Monk first, so that the last 7 classes we take will not change the DC of our spell scrolls away from Charisma once we start taking Charisma classes at level 6. Other than that, the order in which we take the classes shouldn't matter too much. So we start with Ranger to get proficiency in all weapons and shields, some extra skills, and a good amount of starting HP. We also get proficiency in strength and dexterity saving throws, which will help our defenses. Taking Deep Gnome as our race gives us more defense with advantage on intelligence, wisdom, and charisma saving throws. So combined with Ranger, we have a solid boost to all of our saves except for Constitution. We stack most of our ability points into Constitution and Charisma for hit points, and to boost the casting stat we'll be using later for spell scrolls. Charisma will also boost our ability to navigate encounters and manipulate NPCs throughout the game. A 14 dexterity will help some with our armor class, ranged attacks, lockpicking, and stealth for the very early levels. So we get our toon looking fresh, select the Dark Urge origin, and an appropriately cringy name to go with our cringy build before beginning the adventure. We wake up on a creepy squid ship with a baby frog in our brain. We find and rescue a stray puppy, like a good ranger, and look for a way to escape. Lae'zel gets the drop on us, and we don't like her pushy attitude. So when push comes to shove, we get the last laugh. Shadowheart didn't subscribe to this channel, so we leave her in timeout. A mind flayer starts bossing us around, but instructions unclear, died to sexy devil. This time we do better, fondle the tentacles, and crash the ship. We wake up on a beach and find Shadowheart talking to a door. She doesn't like our new hat, so we teach her a lesson and steal her magical D20. We find more brain puppies, but these ones bite, so we put them down and take a level in War Cleric for the bonus action attacks, heavy armor, and guidance cantrip. Astarion takes us from behind by surprise, but we give as good as we get. We stomp a mind flayer for staring at our toes, but he probably liked it, before putting Gale down and getting lectured by his ghost. We use our gnomish stealth and cunning to take out a few bandits at the temple ruins, but it's a nice day outside, so we don't go inside just yet. Shouting in the distance beckons our adventurous spirit, but when a horde of goblins show up, we opt to stay safe and spectate for the most part. With the battle won, we venture inside and find a sweet old lady who sells us elixirs of hill giant strength that will bump our strength score from an 8 to a 21 and carry us for most of the game. We also buy a ring of flinging from a halfling to boost our throwing damage, giving us a better ranged option and enabling all sorts of fun later. We save a kid from a wicked snake lady and level up to take a level in wizard for the shield spell and a couple nice utility options. However, our new powers cause a bit of sensory overload. Poor squirrel. In an attempt to fix our karma, we try to save a tiefling from a bugbear, but we're too late. With the bugbear put down, that's enough hero work for one day. We head to camp and talk to the one-eyed sweetheart I couldn't bring myself to murder, and despite our small stature, eat a family-sized meal before bedding down. We wake up and head back to the Emerald Grove area to find the tiefling kid being lured by harpies. The harpies lure and kill us a few times before we bust out the sanctuary spell. Wondering if we can use it to save the kid as well, we toss him up the hill and kite the harpies to the druids who kill the harpies for us. We check to see if the kid is okay and are told to fuck off. Nice kid. We head back to the ruins we found yesterday and poke around inside. We find lots of protection from evil scrolls and put them to good use when we get jumped by zombies after touching their special button. The zombies are pretty dumb and quickly fall victim to our stealthy hit and run tactics. We find Clint Eastwood napping in a coffin, and he says he'll meet up with us at camp. Using a trick we learned from Shadowheart earlier, we develop an unhealthy relationship with the door. Unable to break it down from a distance, we smash it open in melee and are repeatedly killed by bandits until we implement our greatest superpower, cheese. We kill the bandits one at a time by ducking back through the door to the previous zone to safely heal up between fights. Maybe doors aren't so bad after all. We head back outside and find a good boy we can pet later. Some folks in the nearby village offer to trade us a sword for the head of a devil, so we go hunting. Will wanted this devil dead too, so we make everyone happy, except Karlak, and get a cool sword we can sell for more hill giant potions. We continue on to find a cave with a trap that definitely didn't kill us several times, before we channel our inner Indiana Jones to get past it. We find some dudes cornered by gnolls and die enough times to decide to try this encounter again later. We have dinner with a devil, which turns into a pretty weird night, but only one innocent person died, so it could have been worse. In the morning, we head back to the gnoll cave from a different angle, and mindfuck their leader into fighting for us. We make sure not to help too much so he is easier to finish off when everyone else is dead. We take the important looking chest and go looking for the owners. A wild arsonist nearly blows us away, but then invites us inside. Weird guy. We trade the chest to the Zentarum for a shiny crossbow, and then use our pickpocket skills to get the chest back. Pretty sweet deal. The flask inside will be helpful later. While we're here, we locate the elevator to the Underdark and proceed to meet some pretty fun guys. From there, we experiment with the volatility of mushrooms before reloading to help a brother out and get rewarded with a sweet pair of gloves that boost our throwing power. We also take level 4 in Druid because we still feel bad about the squirrel. We go to sleep and wake up to discover we have a butler. Before leaving, he gives us a cloak that will greatly assist our stealth cheese. The morning starts with a bang as Gale's neglected corpse nukes the entire region, forcing us to reload and deal with him. So we head back to the beach and follow some elaborate instructions to revive him before parking him at camp to endlessly beg for magic items to eat. While on the surface, we find a village of goblins that let us try out our new cloak. Some nearby ogres also sell us their swords, which will come in handy later. We venture into a basement in the village and discover a creepy book, but we don't have anything that fits in its mouth yet.
That's what she said!
So we look deeper and find a bunch of spiders guarding a gem. This fight is too much for us, so we swipe the gem, kill a few spiders to proc our cloak's invisibility, and run away. The gem fits in the book, so we read it and pass a few saves to get a permanent buff to our wisdom. We head back to the surface and crash a goblin party. A trader sells us a returning pike to help our thrown attacks before we head inside. We rescue a cuckoo bird, kooky bard, pigeon. That will help us later. We let a Dommy Daddy spank us and earn another permanent buff that will help when we have low HP. We then proceed to toss or shove all the goblin leaders into chasms and talk our way out of trouble. We eventually submit to prison since we were heading there next anyway. The goblins there are having bear problems and open our cell for some reason. We loot our items from the chest and don't need to equip a weapon since the returning pike auto-equips after you throw it. We kill the goblins, talk to Halsin, and waypoint out. Halsin and the tieflings throw a party at our camp and we progress dialogue with Volo for a buff later. It's important to mention that by finishing the goblin camp, Ethel, who has been keeping us stocked with our daily hill giant elixirs, has moved on. So from here on out, we begin purchasing them or crafting them using the alchemist in the Myconid village. Also, on the note of alchemy, we have crafted potions of speed using hyena ears from the gnolls to get more actions in combat and offset our action economy disadvantages as a lone wolf. After the party, we head back to the Underdark and safely sneak aboard a boat to Grimforge, making a splash with some Durgar pirates in the process. We head back to the Underdark beach and the invisible Durgar leader is now visible since we've taken the boat. We potion of speed to kill him before he can raise the undead and easily mop up the others. All of our recent open hand practice earns us a level in Monk, but no extra attack for us. We have a lot more to do in the Underdark, but we first try out our new Monk skills on the Zentarum. We want to save the slave for this quest, so we have to reload when the NPCs set everything on fire. The NPC blows everything up again on round 2, but the slave survives, so we mop up and return to Grimforge to work on getting some new gear. We acquire a shield mold and a splint mold, some mithril ore, and a shitload of rune powder by cheesing the terrain and abusing our invisibility cloak. We prioritize survival and getting the items. The monsters we don't kill will be easy experience once we upgrade our armor. So, with everything in place, we head to the forge proper, begin the forging process, and awaken the beast. We lure Grim to the hammer and trigger it with our crossbow. Sanctuary protects us from the Mephits, but Grim's AoE Quake is still a threat. We lure him back to the hammer and use the tadpole power, Survival Instinct, to negate Grim's kill shot on us and trigger the hammer again. A combination of Sanctuary and the Resistance cantrip to help against the Quake saves protect us long enough to trigger a third hammer, and finally close to melee with our Warhammer for the kill. With Grim down, we acquire the Adamantine Shield and Splint Armor, which protect us from crits and impose reeling on melee attackers. Our AC also goes up, so we are as tanky as we can be for the rest of Act 1. We take a much needed rest and unlock some new tadpole powers, somewhat regretting the goblin leader tadpoles lost to the chasms. Importantly, Cole the Weak will finish off low HP enemies, saving us much needed actions. We have one major fight left in the Underdark, so we use one of our powder satchels to clear some rubble, toss Nier into the lava, and summon our ogre friends from earlier. We let the ogres do most of the rest of the fighting while we sanctuary, and make sure to grab Lump's headband of intellect when the fighting is over. We head back to the surface and clean up all the fights we had skipped, including becoming a third wheel to a furry romance. The last big encounter up here is with our steroids dealer, Ethel. We head through her fireplace and into her lair, navigating some smaller encounters. Ethel gives us quite a bit of trouble due to vastly outnumbering us with hold person spam, but we discover a trick. Back at camp, Volo had probed for our tadpole with an ice pick, resulting in a brand new eyeball and passive sea invisibility. So we sneak around the lair and spot the invisible hag, prepare with a protection from evil scroll and a speed potion, and we get a surprise round. The surprise round is important because only her true form will be missing those hit points. So we reposition and focus down her true form until she bargains for her life. We take the +1 charisma boon from her, which will bump our charisma to 17. So we head to Withers to reset our stats and get an 18 charisma. But, well, shit. In our greed for higher stats, the run is ruined. I only realized after completing the act. So we reload 4 hours of progress and head out to the mountain pass to run it back. Finding the monastery levels us up to 6, and we take our first charisma class, Warlock. Mostly for the short rest spell slot, upcastable Hellish Rebuke that helps our action economy some, and Eldritch Blast that gets 2 bolts at this level. The Fiend Patron also gives us some recurring temporary HP to help with survivability as well. Our first order of business at the monastery is to deal with all these drunk kobolds. Like the Zentarum, these kobolds really like to start fires, which saves us several attack actions. Utilizing the window as a choke point and the kobolds as weapons works out pretty well here. There is a weapon here that could help us a lot in Act 2, so we go around collecting ceremonial weapons. The kobolds dropped one. The next is guarded by eagles, but our Quasit Familiar is an easy sacrifice to move the weapon to a safe tile for us to pick up in stealth. The final weapon is barely guarded, so we take all 3 to the puzzle room, put them on their proper altars, and loot our MacGuffin. We head inside to find the Githyanki Kresh. Before heading to the leader's chamber, we sit in a big chair and pass some saving throws to get the Awaken buff that lets us use active tadpole powers as a bonus action. We get access to their leader's chamber and uncover a secret wall that leads down to our weapon. These Gith are really tough, so we consider self-destructing the monastery here, but that seems too easy for a challenge run. So we argue with a fake god, take a timeout on the astral plane, and prep for the shitstorm when we re-enter reality. As I keep mentioning, action economy is our biggest weakness, so we summon a couple elementals from a scroll to even the scales a bit. When the fight starts, we take out the dusty iron flask we got from the Zentarum and release a spectator from within. Thankfully, it prioritizes the Gith as targets, so we stay safe on the outskirts while our summons put in work. Eventually, it's just us and the Gith leader, which is a fight we can win. So we do. Low on resources with no way to rest, we head back out for another tough fight, but this one we can cheese. A fog cloud placed by the broken area of the bridge breaks line of sight, so the enemies run up and let us shove them into oblivion. Since shoving is a bonus action, we use our action for Blade Ward to stay healthy and finish the fight. With the main Githyanki threats dead, we pick a couple more of the easier Gith fights before calling it a day and heading back to the Underdark entrance to the Shadowlands to conclude the act. Some final notes. I'm pretty nervous for Act 2 as the enemies are scaling a lot harder than our power can without any feats or extra attacks. We've purchased a ton of powerful spell scrolls to help offset the power imbalance in Act 2. Our 21 strength from the elixirs isn't as OP as it was at level 3, but we will continue to use them and potions of speed to get every edge that we can get. Barrelmancy is an option we haven't used yet and might be necessary for some of the fights going forward. Anyway, Like and subscribe if you'd like to see how the next act plays out, and let me know what you think in the comments. Until next time, gamers, be nice to squirrels.